embracing the worth and dignity of all, supporting justice, equity, and peace in our world, accepting one another as we search for meaning, and respecting the connectedness of all life. For those of you who are new to us, please note that we are a diverse group with a wide variety of interests and beliefs. Therefore, our services are varied in format, tone, and topic. We encourage you to view or attend several services to gain a good understanding of our congregation. If you'd like to start receiving our weekly email of our MVUUC newsletter, please write your contact information on the blue information card found in each chair's seatback pocket. There is a box on the greeting table where you can deposit the card after the service. Please take a moment to greet your neighbors. The chalice will be lit today by Rich Brundrett. Please join me in reading the words provided for the lighting of the chalice. We light our chalice as a symbol of the light within us and the life that flows through the world around us. It is our beacon as we search for truth. It is the warmth in our hearts for love, and it is the energy that propels us to action. May we be kindled by our time together. Now is the time for the sharing of joys, concerns, and milestones. Lisa, please stop recording at this time. At MVU, and now it's time for our first musical selection. Here we have gathered, that's number 360 in your gray hymnals. Number 360 in the gray hymnals, here we have gathered. And now join me, please, in singing the kids out to their class. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Our opening words today are an excerpt from Beginnings, Life on Our World and Others by Pat Brennan from the NASA website. Where do we begin? To chart the course of life in the cosmos, we might start with the first cells, moving and burning energy, perhaps in a hollow on Earth's freshly minted surface, or a superheated vent at the bottom of an ancient sea. But a true understanding of life on Earth or some other world likely will require us to unravel even earlier beginnings. The ignition of stars with their freight of life's building blocks, the formation of planets from protoplanetary disks, the energy and chemistry of surfaces and atmospheres. Much of NASA's astrobiology research, studying the origins and requirements of life in the cosmos, begins right here at home. And it goes all the way back to the birth of our star, the sun, inside a swirling cloud of gas and dust. That cloud contained ingredients essential to life, including carbon, water, ammonia, methane, and other building blocks, molecules made from elements mostly forged in the hearts of previous generations of stars, whose explosive deaths scattered their contents through the cosmos. Seeing the same components in distant families of stars and planets can check the first box on the list of habitable conditions. Next on the list of conditions favorable to habitability, where Earth wound up once our solar system formed, Earth dwells in the habitable zone, the orbital distance from a star that allows liquid water to pool on a planet's surface under a suitable atmosphere. Life on Earth inhabits a shockingly diverse range of conditions, from deep cold to caustic boiling pools, but all appear to require water. Scientists expect water to be essential to life on other worlds as well. Scientists interested in this question, as well as understanding life's origin, also focus on molecules and chemistry. How did microscopic interactions on a volatile early Earth some 4 billion years ago create an energy-consuming, waste-producing package of material we would define as alive? Scientists see another shift as well, an expansion in our view of the history of life on Earth that ranges from the bottom of the deep ocean at hydrothermal vents, a viable possible pathway for life's origins, all the way up to potential life-generating chemistry on the earliest land surface. The components and functions of life might even have arisen piecemeal at various times and places over hundreds of millions of years, only later stitching together to form recognizable living organisms. When it comes to the origin of life, it's about location, 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 and also chemistry.
Hello, everyone. So I'm going to present a little bit today about what makes a living being. I am a card-carrying biologist, but disclaimer, this is sort of a little on the edge or outside my area of expertise. So, but I think I can at least make you think. So we're going to talk a little bit about this today. So I'm going to start with just this question. What is life? Anybody have any ideas that they would like to share? I forgot to figure out. Can we do a microphone if someone wants to share? Okay. Yeah. So how would you define life? What is one way that you might think to define what life means or what is life?
Breath.
Breath. Okay, I like that. Yep. Any other ideas?
Life or a sentient being?
Life. Should be easier than a sentient being defining that, but
Well, I guess it's something that can take in energy from its environment and reproduce to create another generation of something that's very similar to itself.
yeah, those are two great ones. Take in energy from its environment, reproduce. We're going to see these come up. So former teacher, right? So makes sense. Cool. All right, well, those are a couple of good ideas. So there's actually a bunch of different characteristics for life that scientists have described. So I'm going to go through them, but first I'll sort of phrase this question in a different way. It's a question I ask my students at the beginning of the lecture where I talk about this topic. Suppose you came across a gelatinous mass in the forest, right? And you weren't sure if it was alive. What might suggest to you that it was a living creature? Anyone else want to contribute an idea? What do you think? Anything, maybe something that hasn't been said? Yeah.
To me, it's consciousness. Or kind of
Consciousness.
like some basic form of decision making.
Decision making. Okay, yep, I like that.
I think that's impossible to answer because there are things out there that are alive that don't breathe or have a heartbeat or that we know of have a consciousness.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that we might describe a characteristic that doesn't mean that it's not alive, right? So we might see something and think, oh, that's not breathing. That doesn't necessarily mean it's not alive, right? So there's lots of different definitions. Thanks, Becky. Okay, so I'm going to go through the characteristics that scientists have talked about. First of all living organisms that we know of are built of cells. What is a cell? A cell is this structure where you have a membrane, so some kind of a layer or barrier that separates what's inside from outside. Okay, that's a cell. And you're going to see in a second, often what's inside is different than what's outside. So we talked about, one thing was mentioned already is reproduction. So that is a key characteristic of life. If it's alive, it should be part of a population that's capable of reproduction, reproducing, passing its genes on to offspring in some way. This was also mentioned, so capturing energy from the environment. If you're a plant, it might be from the sun, right? If you're an animal, it might be from eating other things, right? So there are different ways to do this, but some way of capturing energy from the environment. And related to that, if you capture energy from the environment, you need to grow and develop, okay? And so that's a key characteristic of life, is growth and development, change, right? Another one there is sort of related to the decision-making idea, right? So this idea that organisms, living organisms, need to respond to the environment in some way, okay? That's what we can call behavior, okay? So a response to some stimulus in the environment. The next one is homeostasis. What does that mean? It just means that your inside environment is different than your outside environment, okay? And there's lots of different ways that could be true. You can see the picture up here of the polar bears. They're clearly a lot warmer than the environment they live in, but also they have different amounts of energy and nutrients than the environment that they live in. So something about regulating your internal body and keeping it different from the outside. And then finally, evolution is actually a key characteristic of life. The living organism must be part of a population that can evolve, okay? And I'm showing an example of camouflage here. So those are the characteristics of life, just to review. Composed of cells, reproduction, capture and process energy, growth and development, sense and respond to the environment, regulation, and evolution. But it's not always simple. So let's talk about a virus. Is a virus alive? There's a lot of different beliefs about this. Is it composed of cells? Not in the true definition of cells. So there are some structures, it's got structures, but lots of things can have structures. It doesn't have a membrane that sort of separates it from the outside environment in the same way that a cell would. Reproduction. Are viruses capable of reproduction? Yes, that's how they infect us, right? So that's a yes. Growth and development. Do viruses grow and develop? Not really. So what really, they sort of are assembled initially, but after they're assembled, they don't change. So no growth and development. Do they capture and process energy? Again, not really. They use the cell machinery to generate new virus particles, but then after that happens, they don't capture any additional energy. Do they sense and respond to the environment? Not really, okay? So it depends on how you think about it. Yes, they float around, and if they hit the right cell, there's a change in shape of the virus, and it injects its genetic material into cells. So you might think of that as behavior, but it's not really as most scientists would define it. You know, lots of chemicals can react with other chemicals when they make contact with them. Regulation, homeostasis. Again, that's not really something that they do. They don't regulate their internal environment to be different from the external environment. They don't actively do that. And then evolution. Yes, they evolve. That's why we can get COVID multiple times, right? So yes, so it's not simple, right? Now let's go to a more ethically discussed topic. Is a human zygote embryo alive? Okay, so if we just go through the definition of life defined by biology, right? Composed of cells, yes. Reproduction, yes. Growth and, well, you know, at some point in its life cycle. Growth and development, yes. Capture and process energy, yes. Sense and respond to the environment, yes. Regulation, homeostasis, yes. Evolution, yes. Okay, so all of these are yeses, so yeah, that's obviously alive. So I'm going to come to this question that is often discussed. When does life begin? Okay, well, this is the wrong question. It's really the wrong question, right? Like, yes, any single-celled organism is alive, zygote is alive, you know, those are living beings. Anything that has these different characteristics of life is alive. A better question that I think is really what people are trying to think about is, when is a living being its own separate individual, different than another individual? Okay? Can survive on its own. Okay, well, it's not always simple. So I'm going to give you a bunch of examples from biology where this is not a simple question. So we're going to start with things that are not humans. We're going to start with plants, fungi, and some other life forms that actually have two different life stages that are multicellular. So for us, and I'm going to come back to us in a minute, we have our adult multicellular stage, and we have single-celled gametes, right? In a lot of other organisms, what for us is the gamete stage is, oops, that's weird, okay, sorry, went way too far, is a multicellular organism over here, okay? So here's a question. It's part of the same life cycle. Are the different life stages separate organisms or the same organism? I don't know if I can answer that question. Let's go to another example. These are animals. They're more similar to us in that they have this large multicellular adult stage and they have single-celled gametes like we do. But these caterpillars go into these cocoons or chrysalises, and out comes a butterfly or moth. And when they do that, they completely dissolve their bodies and remake them from scratch. So, is the caterpillar a separate organism from the butterfly or the same? Is it a separate individual or the same individual? Its genetics are exactly the same, so you might say, oh, it's the same individual, but that's not always a good criteria. No one would consider these twins to be the same individual, even though they have exactly the same genetics. So it's really complicated, right? So now let's go to humans, okay? So again, we have our large multicellular adults here, but then we have our single-celled gametes, eggs and sperm. Are the eggs and gametes, the eggs and sperm, different organisms? Or are they part of us? Are they part of the same organism? Okay, they have slightly different genetics, right? They have their own cells that can move independently, but can't really live without us. It gets cut off here, but also, and this is the question that a lot of people are sort of thinking about, is the zygote is dependent on the mother, so is it a separate organism? So I'm gonna sort of take a step back from that and think about another way that it's hard to describe whether humans are individuals or not, okay? So as some of you may have heard, we have a microbiome. These are all the little bacteria living on us and within us. And estimates are, in your body, there is just as many bacterial cells as human cells. Pretty wild, right? Would you still be you without your bacteria? So here's the next part. Here's a study that said that your gut microbes can influence your mood and depression. So your mental state, which most people think of their mental state as being part of who they are, could be different depending on your gut bacteria. And actually now we know that it's not just your brain. Your gut bacteria can affect your whole body, okay? And so you can see that it could affect, again, there's the brain, but a lot of different ways that it can affect the brain. It can also affect your lungs. It can also affect your immune system. All these things can be affected. And what's more, we're now finding that the bacteria that you're exposed to before, during, and after birth, during childhood, can literally affect the development of these systems. So with a different group of bacteria, you would literally be a different person sitting right here, right now. I'll sort of end with a non-human organism, but it's one that I study, so bees. And there's often this question about whether individual worker bees are separate individuals or part of a superorganism, because worker bees don't breed themselves generally, and have short lives, and instead they just support the breeding of the queen. So are they separate individuals, or are they part of some superorganism? This is a question biologists are wrestling with. So when is a living being its own separate individual? Perhaps, I'd like to say perhaps it is a continuum. And I've got a little diagram here. From mostly unique separate being to partially unique being to almost the same but slightly different being. So it's not just a yes or no question, is it separate individual or not? It's really a continuum. Ultimately, the question of when a human becomes its own individual is not really a scientific one, but a philosophical, spiritual, or religious one. Okay, because there's all this complexity involved. They know. So I'm just going to leave you with this quote from Carl Sagan. For me, it is far better to grasp the universe as it really is than to persist in delusion, however satisfying and reassuring. So I'm leaving you with more questions than answers, but that's what a good UU does, right? Thanks.
Our next song is Spirit of Life, hymn number 123 in your gray hymnals. Spirit of Life, number 123. But like in 30 seconds. The new pianist isn't bad, right? Doing what I can. And now we pass our offertory basket. All donations are gratefully welcomed. If you make automatic pledge payments, please place one of the yellow cards indicating the support in the basket. If you'd like your contribution to count towards your annual pledge, please put it in an envelope with your name on the envelope. Thank you.
Our closing words today come from Carl Sagan. Science is not only compatible with spirituality, it is a profound source of spirituality. When we recognize our place in an immensity of light years and in the passage of ages, when we grasp the intricacy, beauty, and subtlety of life, then that soaring feeling, that sense of elation and humility combined, is surely spiritual. So are our emotions in the presence of great art or music or literature, or acts of exemplary, selfless courage, such as those of Mohandas Gandhi or Martin Luther King Jr. The notion that science and spirituality are somehow mutually exclusive does a disservice to both.
Now, please join me in reading the words provided for the extinguishing of our chalice. As we extinguish the flame on our chalice, we ignite it inside ourselves. Let us remember that we are not alone until we light this flame again. Now is the time for announcements. Does anyone have any announcements to make? Okay, I'll repeat whatever. Oh, maybe I should let you. Yeah, this without the microphone, it just won't come through on Zoom. Thank you.
For those of you who don't remember, Sandy Rowland was a member of our congregation. She passed away a while ago, and there'll be a very big celebration and service for her next Saturday at Veterans Memorial Building. I can actually give you the times. Hang on a second. Come on, look at me. There you go. Okay, so go to the 10th. All right. The doors open, visitations from 11:30 to 1. The celebration of life is from 1 to 2, and from 2 to 4 there'll be celebration and food and everything else. So, everybody, it's the Veterans Memorial Building over by the City Park.
Thank you, Charlie.
Okay.
Hey, y'all. So I have a couple of announcements. Blood drive, August 24th. I'm pretty good on volunteers, although I could always use more for help with cleanup. And I do need donors, though, because I only have like 24 appointments scheduled. I want to just tell you, in case you're wondering, like, what good is it to give blood? Well, and Susan, I hope you don't mind my saying this, but her father actually benefited from blood donations, and it affects you when you don't know it might. I mean, it's really important. You never know if you're going to need blood, and you want it to be there when you need it. And so you might think, well, this doesn't affect me. Well, today it doesn't affect you, but tomorrow it might. So if you can give, I ask that you do. If you can't give, I ask that you share with your family and friends and coworkers and really rally and try and get them to donate, because it's so super important. My other announcement is Noelle just told me that there wasn't a lot of food today at the potluck. It's summer and people forget. But they are getting pizza, apparently, so it's going to be here. So if you don't see much food out there, give it a minute. It's coming. So we ask that you be patient with us and enjoy the pizza when it comes.
Are there any announcements on Zoom? Okay. After the closing songs, we'll sing the closing song, and then afterwards we invite everyone to stay in person, like Lisa just mentioned, for the potluck with pizza. And there's always coffee. Yes, Winnie. Oh, yeah. Kevin, would you?
After service today, we're also going to work on setting things up for Hogwarts. So I would appreciate anybody's help who's willing to help. That's true. Yeah, good point. Next week, there will not be a service because Hogwarts Camp will be going on all weekend next weekend. I don't remember exactly details of the schedule because I think there is something that happens on Sunday.
It might just be for the parents of the campers.
So, yeah. Unless someone else knows better. So no service next week, I believe.
Yeah, that's a really important announcement. Yeah, so if you're able to help out with that, there is an online sign up for setting up for the summer camp. So Hogwarts is our themed summer camp for the kids, and it's happening this Saturday and Sunday. And Noelle, our director of religious education, could really use help with setting up and tearing down. And so the setup is happening today, but then also Friday. There's more slots for helping out with that. And then she could also use help during the camp itself, which is taking place this Saturday and Sunday, and with cleanup afterwards. So yeah, she would really appreciate that. And then, yeah, no service next Sunday.
And I'll just emphasize the cleanup, because those of us who run the camp, we are exhausted by the end of camp, and it's so challenging to clean everything up after you've just run the camp for 2 days. So any volunteers for that would be really appreciated.
Yeah. So we don't have the QR code for the Sign Up Genius, but just find Noelle today or Kevin, and they can email you the link for signing up to help, or me, because I could forward it to you. Yeah, that would really be great. Okay, are we good on announcements? No, there's always like the one last. That was a really important announcement, though. All right, then we'll sing the closing song, and then the pizza will be here soon. Great.